Do you swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Whisper.
All right, good afternoon.
Could you please state your name and spell it for first and last name for the court record, please?
Yes, Dr. Meghan Kessler, Meghan, Kessler, Kessler.
And what is your profession?
I'm an assistant chief medical examiner, also known as a forensic pathologist.
And what is a forensic pathologist?
A forensic pathologist is a type of doctor who is specialized in pathology, which is the study of disease, and then further subspecialized in forensics, which is the study of disease as it relates to law and medicine.
And where do you work?
I worked for the Commonwealth of Virginia, Office of the Chief Medical Examiner at the Northern District Office in Manassas.
And how long have you been with that office?
Approximately 9.5 years now.
And where did you work before you joined the Virginia Office of the Chief Medical Examiner?
Just prior to coming to work in Virginia, I completed a fellowship program with the state of Maryland.
And what is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's degree in biology from the University of Richmond. I graduated from medical school from the Kentucky College of Osteopathic Medicine. I completed an anatomic pathology residency program with Penn State, after which I completed a subspecialty fellowship in forensic pathology with the state of Maryland Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, and became board certified in anatomic pathology and forensic pathology.
Certified.
And are you a medical doctor?
Yes, I'm a DO.
And you said you were board certified. Could you tell us how board certifications are acquired?
To become board certified, the requisite training, years of education is required, as well as obviously taking an examination and continuing education to recertify.
And do you belong to any professional associations?
I do not.
Have you provided any training or educational presentations to others in your field?
Yes, I regularly am involved in training pathology residents from Walter Reed and the University of Virginia, pathology assistant students from Old Dominion University, other interns, forensic fellows within our agency, local medical examiners, and others.
What kind of training did you go through with the medical examiner's office when you arrived?
After I arrived, I'm required to maintain my dual board certification in anatomic and forensic pathology, also my state licensure in medicine, and the continuing medical education that's required.
And what do you do as part of your job as a forensic pathologist at the medical examiner's office?
My primary duty is to complete autopsies to determine cause and manner of death and collect evidence and write reports as related to that.
And have you testified as an expert in the field of forensic pathology in a court of record before?
Yes,
And have you done so in Fairfax County?
I have.
Do you know how many times?
I'm not sure in Fairfax. Within the Commonwealth of Virginia, it's at least 50 times, and likely a majority are in Fairfax.
At this point, Your Honor, I would offer Dr. Kessler as an expert in the field of forensic pathology.
I have no objection, Judge.
No objection. All right, she'll be so offered. Thank you.
And did you perform an autopsy on the bodies of Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield?
Yes, I did.
And prior to the performance of those autopsies, where were the bodies of Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield kept?
After they arrived at the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, they were intake and put into a cooler within our secure facility until the time of autopsy.
And before you performed each of their autopsies, did you break open the seal of the bag containing each body?
Yes, both bodies, the transport bags, were sealed with a wire seal through the zippers.
Before we discuss the particulars of each autopsy, did you prepare a report documenting your observations and findings?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I am going to ask for Commonwealth Exhibits 11 and 12 to be displayed to the witness and counsel only. And I am also going to pass up paper copies to the witness, if I could, please.
You've seen these, Mr. Carroll, correct?
I think I have a copy. I just wanted to look at the signature.
Do you need to look at them?
I mean,
Go ahead and review them to make sure.
It's the redacted.
It's the, yeah.
oh, okay, good. Looks good to me, Judge.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm first going to show you on the screen what has been marked as Commonwealth's 11 and ask you if you recognize it.
Yes, may I scroll through?
Yes, I think. It's also, you have a paper copy of it in your hand.
We'll do that. Yes, I have a copy of this CME1 report of investigation, my autopsy report, my handwritten notes from autopsy, and a copy of the certificate of analysis, the toxicology report.
And now I'm going to show you Commonwealth's Exhibit 12 and ask you if you recognize this exhibit. It's the other paper copy that you have.
Yes, there is a CME1 report of investigation, a copy of the death investigator scene report, a copy of my autopsy report, a copy of my handwritten notes from autopsy, as well as the certificate of analysis, the toxicology report.
Okay. And are these your autopsy reports from your examination of Joe Ryan and Christine Banfield?
They are.
Okay. And Judge, at this point, both exhibits I would ask for to be entered as Commonwealth's 11 and 12. They should be sealed.
If we could approach this for a moment. All right, so 11 and 12 under seal.
And during an autopsy, are you able to determine a person's exact time of death?
No.
And why are you unable to determine a person's exact time of death?
To be short, the science is unreliable and not quite there. There's a lot of different factors, including why somebody has died, what physiologically is going on inside of them that change things that happen after death. There's a lot of things in the circumstances and the environment around them, the temperature, the light, the airflow that can change the rate at which things change after somebody has died. So it makes it difficult and unreliable to pinpoint an exact moment that somebody has died.
And when you perform an autopsy, what does that entail?
An autopsy is a comprehensive examination of somebody after they have died. It is documenting as they are received. It is documenting things externally, so as simple as hair color and eye color, any injuries on the outside of their body. Then an incision is made and an internal exam is completed, documenting any natural pathology, any injuries on the inside of the body as well.
And do you take photographs when you perform an autopsy?
Yes.
And did you take photographs during these autopsies?
Yes.
I'd like first to talk about the autopsy of Joe Ryan. Were you able to determine his height and weight?
Yes.
And was his body clothed when you began your exam?
Yes.
After documenting the clothing, what did you do with it?
The clothing was removed, photographed, and packaged and transferred to law enforcement.
And did you take any physical samples from his body?
Yes, I did.
Can you describe what physical samples you took and what you did with them?
What's called a PERC kit was completed, which is a physical evidence recovery kit. It's something that consists of specific samples to include head hair, swabs from the oral cavity of the mouth, the underwear, comb of the pubic hair, pulled pubic hair, genital swabs, and anorectal swabs. Also, a sample of blood on a blood card and fingernail clippings. In addition to that perk kit, I also did swabs of the palms and the backs of the hands and fibers from one of the hands as well.
And what did you do with these samples after you finished collecting them for the physical evidence recovery kit?
I placed them in sealed bags and transferred them to law enforcement.
And can you describe for the jury what your physical findings were from the examination of Joe's body?
He had 2 gunshot wounds.
And where were those 2 gunshot wounds located?
There's a gunshot wound of the head. The entrance was on the right side of the head. And there was a gunshot wound of the chest, which with the entrance on the left side of the chest.
I am going to first show you Commonwealth 13, and I'd ask that to be displayed to the witness and counsel only at this point. And Judge, as we described, these photos are sealed.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize this photo?
I do.
And how do you recognize it?
It's a photograph from autopsy that has the ruler with the case number N2023-00363 on it.
And what does the image depict?
It is a right profile view of Mr. Ryan's head.
And is it a true and accurate depiction of the wound as you saw it and when you performed Joe Ryan's autopsy?
Yes.
Judge, I'd ask to admit this as Commonwealth 13 and publish it to the jury.
Any objection?
No.
All right, 13 under seal to the jury.
Can you tell the jury what is meant by the terms entry wound and exit wound as it pertains to a wound caused by a bullet?
An entrance wound is where a bullet enters the body. An exit wound is where it might exit the body and leave the body.
And were you able to tell if this wound to Joe Ryan's head was an entry or an exit wound?
Yes.
How can you tell that this bullet was an entry wound?
It's an entrance wound. It has a characteristic round appearance with an abrasion to the edges of it. And also, there is no exit. A bullet was recovered from the wound path within his head.
And what means, if any, exists that would inform a medical examiner's determinations regarding the distance from which a person had been shot?
When a gun is fired, not just does the bullet leave the muzzle, soot, dirt, debris, there is burning gunpowder flakes that are leaving the muzzle as well. And if the gun's fired close enough to the person, the skin, it can be deposited and cause some characteristic injuries on the skin. If it's fired from farther away, those particles are light enough that they kind of drop out and they don't leave any evidence.
Were you able to make any determinations about the physical distance between Joe and the person who shot him from your examination of this head wound?
Based on this examination, the distance is indeterminate. There's no evidence of soot or stippling on the skin of the wound.
And in relation to where the entry wound is located, can you tell us where and how the bullet traveled after entering Joe's head?
The bullet entered the skin on the right side of the head, injured muscles of soft tissue, the skull, the facial bones, the bones around the eye, the right eye, and the left cheek, and caused fractures of the base of the skull, bleeding on the brain. And it traveled from right to left, back to front to back, and downward.
And given the path of travel of the bullet through those areas, which of Joe's bodily functions might have been impacted or would have been impacted, and how?
It is causing, the wound path caused bleeding on the brain, which is an injury of the brain. It impacted his eye. He can no longer see, he has no eye. There's evidence that there was breathing of blood, hemoaspiration, and swallowing of blood.
What if any effect would you expect this injury to have on a person's ability to see, speak, or make vocal sounds?
So the injury, the gunshot wound path injures the right eye. The left eye is still intact. he could see potentially. To be able to speak or make noises, the injury is not of his larynx where the vocal cords are, where the sounds are generated, so potentially could still make noises. There's no physical injury of that area.
And in the course of your work as a medical examiner, are you able to quantify in terms of time the speed at which a bullet wound would be able to kill someone?
Sometimes.
And can you describe those temporal differences? How you would describe them?
There are times when I can say a wound is immediately or instantly fatal, and that's typically when it's an injury that disconnects the brainstem and the head, ceasing breathing and heart functions. This wound is still intact. This wound is considered rapidly fatal, meaning seconds to minutes, injuring vital structures of the body with some survival.
And given that you found no exit wound caused by this bullet, were you able to locate the bullet, and where was it?
Yes. A bullet fragment was recovered from the left cheek, just in front of the left ear, and bullet fragments were also recovered through the wound path in the head.
And what did you do upon locating this item in Joe's head?
The bullet fragments were photographed, placed into a bag, and sealed and transferred to police.
And at this point, I'm going to retrieve Commonwealth's Exhibit 14. I'm going to pass up, if I could, what I'm identifying as Commonwealth's 14. And I'm going to ask if you're familiar with that exhibit.
Yes, I am.
And how are you familiar with it?
It is a bag containing my bag, which I sealed, and that bag contains a note card labeled fragments, my signature, as well as the fragments.
And is this exhibit in the same or substantially similar condition beyond the packaging as when you removed those from Joe's head during the autopsy?
It is.
And Judge, at this point, I'd ask to admit and publish Exhibit 14.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, 14. How do you wish to publish?
Judge, we'll just leave it there at this point in
Okay.
time because I'm going to move on to
All right, that's fine.
a few other things, and then we can publish a bit later.
Okay.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Commonwealth's Exhibit 15 photograph, and I'd ask for this to be displayed to the witness and counsel only. Can you see the photograph?
Yes.
Can you tell us what this image depicts?
It's a photograph after Mr. Ryan has been cleaned up from his head down to his torso.
And how do you recognize it?
It also has the ruler with the case number.
And is this a true and accurate depiction of this chest wound as you performed Joe Ryan's autopsy?
Yes.
Judge, at this point, I'd ask the court to admit this as Commonwealth's 15, and this can be published to the jury.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, 15 under seal and to the jury.
And was there any evidence present that would have helped you determine the distance between this injury and the firearm that inflicted it?
There was no visible soot or stippling on the skin around this wound.
And when you examined his clothing, the clothing that was present, did you find any defects in that clothing that he was wearing when you began your exam?
Yes, there was a hole in the left side, the front side of the shirt.
Okay. I am going to show you Commonwealth's 17, 18, and 19, their photographs. I'm going to ask for them to be displayed to the witness and counsel only at first. This is 17, 18, and 19. Do you recognize these photographs?
Yes,
And how do you recognize them?
they are photographs of the shirt, the first of which had the ruler.
And is this this shirt that you removed from Joe Ryan during his autopsy?
It is.
And are they all true and accurate depictions of the shirt as you saw it during the autopsy?
It is.
Judge, at this point, I'd ask the court to admit as Commonwealth 17, 18, and 19 the photographs of the shirt and then allow them to be published to the jury.
And you want them under seal also?
Judge, I don't think that these need to be under seal. There's
That's
nothing. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Any objection?
No objection.
All right, 17, 18, 19.
So first showing 17, 18, and 19. And if we could terminate the view to the gallery at this point.
Yes, thank you.
I am going to show you Commonwealth's Exhibit 20, which is another photograph. And I'm going to ask for it to be displayed to the witness and counsel only. Can you see the photograph?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recognize this photo?
Yes.
And how do you recognize it?
It has the ruler with the case number and is a photograph of the middle section of Mr. Ryan's body before the clothing and medical intervention has been removed.
And is it a true and accurate depiction as you saw this view during the autopsy?
Yes.
And at this point, Judge, what I'd ask the court to do is admit Commonwealth's Exhibit 20, and I'd ask for this to be sealed.
All right, any objection?
No objection.
All right, 20 under seal, thank you.
And then you said before medical interventions were removed. Can you describe the medical interventions?
As seen in this photograph, there are 2 EKG electrodes on the lower portion of the abdomen. You can see one on the arm. There's also a chest seal, which is an adhesive seal over the gunshot wound on the left side of the chest.
And the chest wound, is the chest wound an entry wound or an exit wound?
An entrance wound.
And how do we know this?
It is round, has an abrasion, and a bullet is recovered from the body.
In relation to where the entry wound is located, can you tell us where and how the bullet traveled after it entered Joe's chest?
The bullet injures the skin, soft tissue, and the muscle, the rib cage, the pericardium, which is the sac that the heart resides in, the heart, the aorta, which is a major blood vessel coming off of the heart, and the outside of the esophagus, which is the food tube to the stomach, and the T8 spine. The bullet traveled from left to right, front to back, and upward.
And given the path of travel of the bullet through these areas of Joe's chest and his upper body, can you tell us which of Joe's bodily functions would have been impacted and how?
The injury of the rib cage will impact breathing. The rib cage is needed for breathing. The injury of the pericardium in the heart puts a hole in the heart, so therefore it is now bleeding, leaking blood, and no longer pumping blood to the body effectively. There are holes in the aorta, which is a major blood vessel carrying blood, so now it is also bleeding. And there is injury of the T8 spines, the actual bone that the spinal cord is in. And the spinal cord itself is markedly softened, it's contusion, and bleeding around it, so it is also injured.
And given that that there is no exit wound that we've seen, were you able to locate this bullet?
Yes.
And what did you do upon locating the bullet?
It was removed and photographed and sealed and transferred to police.
Do you recall where in the body it was removed from?
It was removed from the T8 spine.
And at this point, I'm going to show you what's been marked, what I will identify as Commonwealth's Exhibit 21. Are you familiar with that exhibit?
I am.
And how are you familiar with it?
It is the bullet with the labeled card, bullet chest with my signature inside the sealed bag, which I sealed and initialed.
And is it in the same or substantially similar condition as it was when you removed it from
Yes.
Joe's body during the autopsy? And Judge, at this point, what I'd ask the court to do is admit this as Commonwealth's Exhibit 21.
Any objection?
No objection.
21?
And Judge, if we could just simply allow the jury to see the exhibits, I can walk.
Did you want to do it with a document camera, or?
I was just going to walk them around, or not.
I'd prefer the document camera if you could, it'd just be easier, but if you're concerned about it. You want to get to back to her. You just have to touch the top button. There you
There is a new emoji, chat. Whisper, whisper.
The privacy screens are making it difficult.
Oh, they cut out the whispers.
Yes.
And these are the fragments that you recovered from the head, is that correct?
Yes.
And then, are you able also to see this on screen?
I am.
And is that the bullet that you recovered from the chest?
Yes.
Thank you. These have been admitted. So.
Hey, Mel. What is happening?
When you examined Joe's heart, was there anything about the structure and its injuries that was significant?
As I previously said, the bullet traveled through the heart. So now the heart is leaking, bleeding, and is no longer able to effectively pump blood.
And are you able to make any determination about his condition when that bullet injured his heart?
There was 1,200 milliliters of blood in the left side of the left chest cavity, which is 1.2 liters. So with the hole in the heart, some blood will leak passively out. However, to get 1.2 liters of blood into the left chest cavity, there has to be some sort of a pulse indicating there is some survival for at least an amount of time.
And regarding the blood that was on Joe's face, did either the head wound or the chest wound result in that amount of blood on his face?
There's a gunshot wound to the right side of his head, and as is, when I received his body, there was blood from his nose, ears, and mouth. And that injury of the gunshot wound to the head injured the skull and the facial bones, which injured the sinus cavities and the airways. So it can result in blood coming out of the ears, nose, and mouth and onto the face.
And do you have a reasonable opinion within a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to the cause and manner of death of Joe Ryan?
Yes.
And what are they?
The cause of death is multiple gunshot wounds, and the manner is homicide.
Now I'd like to turn to the autopsy of Christine Banfield. Were you able to determine, I'll give you a moment to get situated. Were you able to determine, I'm sorry, was she clothed when you examined her?
She was partially clothed with socks.
Did she have anything else on her person other than clothing?
Yes, there were glasses on the top of her head and her hair. She had a necklace around her neck. She had earrings in her earlobes, and she had 2 rings on her left fourth finger.
And were you able to determine her
What?
height and weight?
Yes,
After documenting her weight, her socks, jewelry, and glasses, what did you do with the items?
the personal effects were photographed and packaged and transferred to law enforcement.
I'm going to show you a photograph that I'm going to identify as Commonwealth's Exhibit 50, and I'd ask for it to be shown to the witness and counsel only at this point. Do you recognize this photo?
Yes,
How do you recognize it?
it has the ruler with the case number on it.
And what is depicted in the photo?
It is the glasses after they were removed from her body.
And is it a true and accurate depiction of the glasses that, as they were collected from Christine at the time of her autopsy?
Yes,
Judge, I'd ask the court to admit this as Commonwealth's Exhibit 50 and publish it to the jury.
Okay, any objection to 50?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, 50 in evidence.
And I'm sorry, you said these glasses were found where on her person?
the top of her head.
And at this point, could I ask for the gallery view to be terminated?
Thank you. Would the jury also, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you take any physical samples from the body?
Yes,
And can you describe what samples you took and what you did with them?
yes. I also completed a PERT kit, a physical evidence recovery kit, which included the standard samples, head hair, oral swabs, underwear, combed pubic hair, pulled pubic hair, vaginal swabs, anorectal swabs, a blood card, fingernail clippings. In addition to the standard samples for the PERT kit, I also completed swabs of the palms, swabs of the backs of the hands, swabs of both sides of the neck, and swabs of each breast. And I removed various fibers from her body.
And what did you do with those samples when you collected them?
All of those samples were packaged and transferred to law enforcement.
And is there a particular, was that also in a physical evidence recovery kit?
Yes,
Okay. And if we could, let's talk about the physical findings from your examination. I'm going to direct you to page 6 of your report in the section titled Evidence of Injury. And
I wonder if the glasses could have just like fallen back.
you could display
during
Commonwealth
transport.
Exhibit 11 to the jury.
They're seeing it.
Okay. There it is.
But having jewelry on, like, did they
Okay.
plan that out? To
You
be
described
naked
some
and
of
have
the
jewelry
wounds
on,
as
like,
cutting wounds and some of the
earrings.
wounds as stab wounds. Can you describe the difference for us, please?
by definition, both wounds are sharp force injuries, so some injuries that are caused by something sharp, like a knife. Stab wounds, by definition, are deeper than they are long on the skin, and cutting wounds are longer on the surface of the skin than they go deep.
So for example, if I had like little tiny stud earrings, I might sleep with those in. But if I was wearing hoops, like it's one of the first things I'm going to take off. Even if they're tiny like what this medical examiner is wearing on the stand, I would take those off before going to sleep. So was this something that Christine, she actually thought someone was showing up for, and she was like hot and ready to go, and she wanted to look cute, so she put all the jewelry on, even though she didn't put any other clothes besides socks on? Or did Brendan and or the au pair, if they were working together on this, did they stage it and say, well, let's make her look like she was expecting somebody? Because it's a little bit odd that somebody, in my opinion, a little bit odd. I wish we could see the earrings. I wish we could see the earrings. Wish we could see. But if they're not anything but little studs, to have that on is kind of weird.
And I am going to show you a series of photographs at this point, and if I could have the view now be to counsel and the witness only for this portion. I'm going to show you a number of photos that I'm going to identify by number as I move through them, and just ask you to look at them at this point. I've got Commonwealth's 22, Commonwealth's 23, Commonwealth's 24, Commonwealth's 25, Commonwealth's 27, Commonwealth's 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39.
It should be 39 and
Sorry.
40.
Sorry, not 38, 39,
Not 38.
not 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, and 49. Do you recognize these photographs?
Yes.
And how do you recognize them?
They're all photographs of Ms. Banfield at the time of autopsy that have the ruler with the case number.
Judge, at this point, and are they a true and accurate depiction of what you saw as you performed the autopsy and took these photographs?
Yes.
Judge, at this point, I'd ask the court to admit the photographs, and then I'm going to talk about them and display
All
them.
right. Any
Judge,
objection?
may we approach?
Yes.
I don't know if there's an issue with one of the exhibits or if they just want to say, hey, can we like not read these photos and possible descriptions out loud if we're not going to be showing them. You don't need to look sad right now. The deputy behind him's playing Wordle. That guy, Nick, it's to be determined. The state's theory is that it was a complete setup by the defendant and the au pair. The defense's theory is that it was according to digital forensics. The digital forensics are going to show that Christine was using her devices to access the FetLife website and also to communicate with Joseph Ryan, the other victim. So Yeah, Brianna, I might rewatch openings because I don't know if they really said, like, we heard that Christine was a nurse and worked like long hours and what you'd expect of a nursing schedule, but I don't remember them laying it out like the specifics, but I might not have just clued in on that detail about who was coming home from work that night. They had the day off. Like, could Christine have been that way because she had just gotten home from a shift and was like starting to settle in because she was going to sleep during the day because she was working crazy hours as a nurse? It's a detail that I don't have in my recall if they said anything. All right, and there's still, I don't hear anything, and it doesn't look like the witness is talking, so. Oh,
All right, so I will enter into evidence then 22, 23, 24, 25, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, all entered evidence over the objection of the defendant.
26 and
under-
38 were excluded.
Thank you. Okay. All right,
Was she happy and nodding?
okay. If these can be published to the, okay, gotcha.
Oh, I should be clear. So Judge Penny didn't read out the number 26 or the number 38. Maybe the defense never objected to those two. Maybe they said, we're fine with those, but we object to the rest of these. So whatever Penny as Karate was reading out, she did not read that 26 and 38 were being excluded, but maybe that wasn't objected to at all. So most of them over the defense's objection are coming in.
Looking at Commonwealth's Exhibits 22 and 23, can you describe where on Christine's body this stab wound appeared?
This is the left side of her neck, and it's a stab wound that's horizontally oriented on the left side of her neck with a cutting wound extending from the superior, which is the top aspect of the stab wound on the left side of her neck.
And going forward to 24 and 25, can you describe where on Christine's body this area of multiple stab wounds appeared?
Yes, this is the left side of her face and neck, or I'm sorry, the right side of her face and neck. There are multiple stab wounds and cutting wounds in this photograph. There is a vertical stab wound depicted as letter C on my autopsy report, which injures muscle and goes to the bottom of her skull and causes a fractured notched defect. There are 3 stab wounds on the left side of her neck that you can also see in this photograph. They're closely oriented and on the skin. The wound paths commingle, meaning overlap, underneath the skin and the muscle in her neck. And they injure the left jugular vein, which is a major vein in the neck, the right carotid artery, and the larynx, which is the breathing tube, the epiglottis, the esophagus. There is a stab wound at the anterior aspect as well, kind of towards the front of her face with a cutting wound, as well as an abrasion present in this photograph.
And can you describe the various depths of the wounds that we see here?
The wounds range from a quarter of an inch deep to up to 2.5 inches deep.
And what means or observations, given your training and experience, informed your conclusions regarding the number of stab wounds on this side of Christine's neck?
In terms of the number, I counted. And for the ones that are very closely oriented beside each other, I use my training and experience to reapproximate them, the elastic fibers in the skin, kind of pull them apart more so that I could reorient them to be able to kind of put them back together to see them better.
And are any of the wounds that you described on this side of her neck or the other, are any of them immediately fatal?
No, they're all rapidly fatal injuries.
And did you note any additional injuries to Christine's body during your exam?
Yes, she had abrasions and contusions about her body.
And you recorded those.
I did.
Before we move on to those, I am going to retrieve Commonwealth's Exhibit 26.
Oh, and guys, don't forget the stain made sure to explain that the volume of blood on Joseph Ryan, the other victim, could have been caused by the way the gunshot wound to the head. It could have caused an injury to the breathing cavity, and that's why so much could have been protruding, presumably down his face and down the front of his body. So to me, that's the state trying to get ahead of the defense, saying, look, all of this volume of blood, if it was my client and or the au pair who's alleged to have worked together to do this stabbing, there would be questions about this crime scene and how even if they delayed calling 911, how would they have been able to clean all of this up without the responders finding like bloody clothes somewhere, footprints of blood that are more explainable than just someone was trying to render aid? Because remember, if we, for the sake of thought, just say that Brendan Banfield didn't actually do this, it still could be explained that he'd have blood on him if he was rendering aid to either of the victims. And we know he was rendering aid, or said he was attempting to render aid to Christine, right? So that's still an explanation for some of the blood. But there's just certain things that if they were the ones doing the actual stabbing,
Exhibit 26.
you would expect
Objection to 26, Mr. Chair.
a mess on them.
Any objection to 26, the knife? Okay.
And
All right, entered evidence, 26.
We could remove it from the, and then
Ooh.
if
So they
Dr.
have the
Kessler,
knife. So I'd look at the
Commonwealth's
screen.
Exhibit 26, as you're looking at it, is that item something that could have caused the wounds to Christine Banfield's neck?
Yes, it is a single-edged knife of a compatible size with the injuries on her neck.
And if
Jeez.
we could display it on the document camera.
Sure.
Sorry, my bad.
Maybe.
And I'm sure we'll get like a lab tech later that tests the fingernail clippings, because I want to see, was any of Joseph's DNA skin cells under
It's the button on the top.
Christine's fingernails.
There you go. There's a button that zooms in and out too if you need it. There you go.
Thank you. We can put it away for now. Okay. I would like to talk about some of the additional injuries that you noted in your report. The photographs that we're going to be looking at have already been admitted, but they are under seal. So we're looking at Commonwealth's Exhibit 27. Can you describe the injuries that are depicted in that photo?
In this photograph of the front of Christine's head and face, there is a abrasion on her forehead. There's an abrasion on her left eyelid. You can see abrasions on the left side of her chin.
And then moving on to 28 and 29. Can you describe the injuries that we're seeing in these photos?
This photograph shows 3 abrasions on the left side of her chin.
And I am going to go back to 24, which we've seen before. Is there an additional injury that you noted that we can see in this photo?
Yeah. On the right side of her chin at the angle of the jaw, there are contusions, which are bruises.
And going forward to Commonwealth's 30, and you describe the injury that we see here.
That is an abrasion on the underside of her chin.
And in Commonwealth's 31, can you describe the injuries additional to the stab wounds that we see?
There's an abrasion at the kind of the back side of the neck. There's a bruise on the top of the right shoulder.
And moving forward to 32 and 33, can you describe the injuries we see in these photos?
In this photograph, there is a cutting wound on the top of the left shoulder with 2 adjacent abrasions or scrapes.
And in Commonwealth's 34, can you describe the injuries that you see in this photo?
In this photograph, you can see a bruise on the front side of her right arm, the upper chest on the right side, and the left side.
And in Commonwealth's 35, go ahead.
Is another photograph of the bruise on the front side of her right arm.
And Commonwealth's 36 and Commonwealth's 37, can you describe this injury for us?
This is a photograph of a bruise on the inside of her right arm.
And looking at Commonwealth's 39, can you describe that injury for us?
And that is a more close-up photograph of the bruise on the front side of her right arm.
And Commonwealth's 40.
This is a photograph of her body from the right lateral, the side, which includes the bruise on the front of her right arm.
And Commonwealth's 41, can you describe the injury for us in this photo?
This photo shows a portion of the right hand, the palm, and the right forearm. and there are abrasions across the forearm.
And 42, Commonwealth's 42,
Is a bruise on the back side of the right hand.
and Commonwealth's 43, can you describe the injury in that photo?
This is the inside of the left arm, or the medial aspect, and it shows bruises.
And you say medial aspect, what's that part? What does that mean?
The inside, the side that's closer to your body.
And in Commonwealth's 44, what injury do we see here?
This is the front side of her right thigh, and there is a dark bruise and a fainter horizontal bruise across the front of the right thigh.
And in Commonwealth's 45, can you describe what injuries we're seeing here?
This is a picture of the left leg at the knee, and just below the knee there is a bruise on the left leg.
And in Commonwealth's 46 and Commonwealth's 47, can you describe the injuries that we see in those photos?
These are photographs of the front side of the right thigh. The first photograph is further away, the second is close up, again, of a bruise.
And in Commonwealth's 48 and 49, can you describe the injury in that photo?
This is a photograph of the back side of her left leg at her calf. The first is a far away picture, and the second is a closer up photograph, also of a bruise.
When I was reading your report, I noticed that the abrasions are all described as orange or red. Is there any significance to orange and red abrasions?
The color red typically describes bleeding, or what we call vital reaction. So the
Still
body is
alive.
perfused. There's blood in the capillaries and the blood vessels around that area. The heart is pumping, there's a pulse. Vital reaction are typically associated with red abrasions and injuries. Orange abrasions are a little more unclear. They can be what we call perimortem, which is at or around the time of death, or they could be postmortem, after death, and they are lacking that red vital reaction.
And I also noticed that the contusions or bruises are all described as purple, blue, pink, gray. Is there any significance to these colors?
As we're all well aware, bruises can come in a variety of colors. Typically, after a bruise appears, it can have a different appearance on different people. And as a bruise breaks down and heals and ages, it can change colors. Typically, a bruise that is more than 24 or 48 hours, a bruise that is yellow or green is typically more than 24 or 48 hours. Just because a bruise isn't yellow or green doesn't mean that you can age it.
And so if you noted green or yellow contusions, would you be able to tell us how old those were?
That would be more definitive evidence of, yes, that is an older bruise.
So is it fair to say that the bruises that we see on Christine Banfield are not as old as a yellow or green bruise would be?
There are no yellow or green bruises, so therefore there is no definitive evidence of older bruises.
And I want to talk a bit again about the wound paths in the cutting wounds and the stab wounds on Christine's neck. Is there anything about their location on her body, their shape, their commingled nature that can tell us anything significant about her condition when they were inflicted?
Because they are closely oriented, the shapes are needed to be reapproximated, which could indicate movement by her or the assailant in the knife, which indicates she is alive.
And when you examined her respiratory system during the autopsy, what, if anything, did you find?
There is evidence of hemoaspiration, breathing of blood into the lungs, and swallowing of blood into the stomach, indicating she's alive.
And when you examined her gastrointestinal tract, what, if anything, did you find?
There's blood in her stomach from swallowing.
What is the significance of finding blood in the area where you found it?
It's from the injury of the upper airway and the esophagus, so the breathing tube and the food tube in the neck. And that blood is traveling down into the lungs and down into the stomach.
And I noted that the location was listed as the lumen. What does that mean?
That means inside the stomach.
And does the amount of bloody fluid have any significance?
There was 50 milliliters of blood in the stomach, so that's, some can travel passively, but that's how much was present in the stomach.
And do you have a reasonable opinion within a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to the cause and manner of the death of Christine Banfield?
Yes.
And what is that?
The cause of death is multiple sharp force injuries, and the manner of death is homicide.
I don't have any further questions for you. Mr. Carroll is going to have some questions for you.
All right, cross-examination.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Dr. Kessler.
Hello.
How are you? Sorry, I just need to get my
That's
act
fine.
together a little bit, Judge. Dr. Kessler, looking at Joe Ryan's autopsy that you performed, there were injuries on one of his hands. I think we talked about it when we were in person. Do you recall discussing that?
Yes.
And what's the nature of those injuries?
There's, on his left thumb, there's a bruise on the back side of it. There's a bruise on the palm side of the thumb with a cut or a puncture.
I'm sorry, what was the last part?
On the palm of the left thumb,
Okay.
there's a bruise with a cut, puncture injury.
Is it
Okay.
pre-mortem?
And would that be consistent with the knife that you've viewed?
It could be.
Okay. Now, was there any sort of discussion as to toxicology with regard to Mr. Ryan? Did you do any sort of testing regarding that?
Yes, toxicology was completed.
And what, if anything, came out from his system at that time?
The toxicology was positive for THC, carboxylic acid, 11-hydroxy tetrahydrocannabinol, and was inconclusive for tetrahydrocannabinol in the blood.
In the blood?
Yes.
Okay. And so what would that breakdown of what you just testified to, what would that indicate to you?
Those are typically components of marijuana. However, I defer further questions regarding the toxicology to the toxicologist.
Okay. Would it be, well, then I don't want to put you on the spot and say anything about that. I won't ask that question. And tetrahydrocannabinol is either marijuana or a byproduct of marijuana, correct?
Perhaps.
Okay. And would it be within your bounds to be able to say that there was marijuana smoked prior to this time when they ended up in the Banfield house?
I can't say that.
Okay. But it was evident in the toxicology?
It's in the blood.
Okay. Now, in your dealings with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, how many people did you talk to? Do you recall?
I don't recall.
Was there one person that was the person in charge of discussing things with you in the medical examiner's office?
There is typically a representative from the Commonwealth Attorney's Office who is assigned the case.
Okay, and do you know who you spoke to about this case?
This case is from 2023, so the Commonwealth attorneys have changed throughout the course in regards to this trial here today. I discussed the
So don't forget, if you missed our lunch break soiree or the intro, remember the lead prosecutor, Eric Klingon, no longer on this case after he was some animal health hospital called in the police because this guy kept coming by and drinking in the back of the building near a dumpster. And after that incident, no longer the lead prosecutor on this case. And it was reported that he was in the courtroom yesterday during jury selection, taking notes, taking a lot of notes. So, yeah, had some changes with the Commonwealth there. Let's run it back so you guys can hear it.
This case is from 2023, so the Commonwealth attorneys have changed throughout the course in regards to this trial here today. I discussed the case with Ms. Sprisler and Ms. Sands.
Okay, you talked to anybody else in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office?
Relevance, what's the relevance?
Um,
You want to approach of the
Yes.
relevance? Okay.
Oh. So either we're trying to get into, was there possible influence of outside information, subconsciously, nothing intentionally malicious, that could impact your analysis, your findings. But secondly, I think what the defense attorney might be trying to get into is sowing the seeds and anchoring the jury pretty early that there's something odd going on with this turnover. 12 members of the homicide unit for the Fairfax Police Department or the prosecution team, now only 4 of those 12 are still here 3 years later. High turnover, weird switchover of the prosecution team. It could just be trying to anchor and give the jury something to have in the back of their mind, make them curious about something while they're taking in all the rest of this information. So, yeah, and in simpler terms, Sheriff Chuck with the simple words says the drunk prosecutor she had talked to has now left. So, Mavka says it's factually odd. It's curious. Yep, trying to discredit the prosecution office. So, the prosecutor bin juice is crazy. And I don't know, I think it's also interesting. We had the state, when they were talking about the autopsy on Joseph Ryan, again, going through why there could be that much blood on Joseph Ryan due to the nature of the gunshot wound to the head. They focused on that. They made sure to get that in front of the jury, that all of that blood could be explained, because they're probably trying to get ahead of the defense saying, well, you'd expect that much blood to be on my client if he was the one that did the stabbing, and how would he be able to cover that up? Like, this doesn't make sense. Use your common sense. But what the state didn't do, at least not that I caught, they didn't do anything to get ahead of this injuries on the hand. And maybe on redirect we'll see that. Maybe they're waiting. Maybe they wanted the defense to cross on it so they could come back and just say, would that be consistent with someone perhaps trying to defend themselves or get a weapon out of somebody else's hand? Right? Could it have been a defensive injury? Because the defense seems like they want to use it, I would expect, to say that that could be consistent with Joseph Ryan being the one that had the knife. So, and again, this is the medical examiner, so very important witness here. And as a witness, I think she's great as a witness. Like, I don't read her as like trying to be snitty to one party. Great Granny says the defendant cuffed. I mean, there might be something that we're not seeing below the table. But obviously his hands are free to take notes, which, unless there's like an egregious reason, I think that defendants should have their hands free to take notes. I mean, that helps in their own case. So. That guy Nick says, who drinks beer at 8 a.m.? Drink vodka like a normal day drinker. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, KL says still going from the night before. Well, apparently he said it was his day off, so. I don't know. When I was younger, I feel like, I could do those 2 a.m. I can't, man. If I'm up that late, it's because
Kessler,
I got like a third wind and can't fall
is
asleep.
it true that the Commonwealth's not one of these ladies asked you
He
to
won.
speak to an outside private expert?
Yes,
Okay. And do you know when that was?
I don't recall the date or even the year.
Okay. And did you, sorry, Judge, may I approach? I just want to make sure I don't go beyond what you.
So he won, but with some constraints. He probably can't say certain things in his question that the jury could hear while he's trying. It has to be the witness that says it. Uh-oh, chat. What are we doing? What's going on?
And Dr. Kessler, did you make a call to that expert?
I did not make a call. I corresponded via email.
Okay.
Are we going to hear from that expert? See
Did
the
that
email?
correspondence in any way
Oh.
cause you to change any of the findings that you would otherwise find?
No, I had already made all of my findings and developed my opinions, and they have not changed.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
All right, redirect.
Actually, I'm sorry, I have other questions not on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Dr. Kessler, in terms of the injuries to Christine Banfield, the injuries to the neck, do you have an opinion as to, I know you said rapidly, they were rapid, I forget the term you used.
I described them as rapidly fatal.
Rapidly fatal, yes, thank you. I wanted to make sure we got that. And these were the wounds that were on the neck.
Yes,
And I think you had said rapidly fatal was from seconds to minutes?
yes.
Okay. And during that time of seconds to minutes, was there anything that would have hindered her ability to speak or say something?
There is
Jugular.
injury of the larynx, the epiglottis, and the airway, perhaps.
Okay. So the possibility of speaking existed at that time?
I can't definitively say there, but I can confirm that there is injury of that area, not of her vocal cords, but injury of her airway and her larynx in the general area where sounds were made. But I can't tell you yes or no definitively if she could make noise or speak.
In communications, I guess in your contact with the police department, was there ever a request to determine if there was another knife?
I don't recall.
Were you ever asked for anything like that?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And is it fair to say then that the knife that you just presented to the jury was the only knife that you had any sort of contact with?
It's
What?
the only one that I recall seeing, yes.
Bear with me. On page 2 of your report for Christine Banfield, it says postmortem toxicology was positive for phentermine. Would that be something that would have been provided through emergency means, or do you have any way of knowing?
I have no way of knowing.
Used
Do
to
you know what
speed weight
phentermine
loss.
is?
It's typically a weight loss drug. I don't know why she had it.
Okay. It wasn't something that was administered as part of, I would assume that it wouldn't be administered as part of any sort of life-saving measures or anything like that.
Not that I was indicated to me.
Okay. Judge, I don't have any questions.
All right.
Any further questions?
All right.
Thank
Now
you.
read your list. Thank you. Okay.
Judge, we don't have any redirect.
All right, is this witness subject to recall, or is she free to go?
Judge, not for me.
Mr. Carroll, is this?
No, thank you, Judge.
Is she subject to recall?
No.
All right, you're free to go, doctor. Thank you. Have a good day.
I do think it's interesting that
I
they
think
didn't
this is a-
redirect on the
You know, I think This is a
hands.
good time to take our afternoon break for 15 minutes. So we'll go ahead and take our afternoon break for 15 minutes. Again, don't talk to anybody about the case, and don't do any outside research, okay? We'll see you in 15 minutes, okay?